And you think they were engineering for that?
Yes. And also, too, with being able to withstand certain physical pain.
And do you think that was for the trafficking agenda they had for you?
Yes. And then I also do know there is super soldier programming in there that we have not completely touched on quite yet.
Well, and by we, you mean me asking you, or even in your journey of healing?
In my journey, we know it's there because I have seen what looks like a black box.
Oh.
And I have seen it for years. And I know what is in that box. We just have not gone there yet. So we will be getting there soon.
So we're not ready to talk about the super soldier programming yet.
Quite yet, yes. But there's a lot of things in my childhood that I sit and think about that were just really what would be like to where one of my good friends was kind of scared of me. I got hit by a car. Mm-hmm. I got hit by a car when I was 12. Mm-hmm. And I stood up after getting hit by a car, brushed myself off, and said, "Let's go." I said, "Don't tell my mom, my stepmom." And my friend was like crying and freaking out because I just got hit by a car, and it was like nothing to me. I just said, "Let's go." So it was things like that constantly, whether it be car accidents where I should have died or went through windshield. I was more concerned about other things. It didn't faze me of what I just went through at all.
Well, you certainly showed the lightning bolt who was boss.
Yes.
And now you also have given me evidence of showing the car. You know, when I was a teenager and certain parts of my brain hadn't activated yet, I had fantasies in my head of showing a car who was boss. I would say things like, "Oh, I wouldn't get hit by a car. That car would get hit by me." And
that
it's like,
so funny.
Yeah, it is funny because I probably would have been in the hospital, but not you.
No.
Like, you were actually on the other side of that,
Yeah, she hit me, and it was on Valentine's Day, which
goodness.
I find is funny. Valentine's Day, of course, but there was no cars. This car literally came out of nowhere.
Goodness.
And the woman got out, yelled at me, and left. And a helicopter was doing rounds, because it was Reno. So, they always had helicopters doing rounds and checking stuff. They seen it. And so I had to tell my stepmom because all these emergency vehicles showed up at my door. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "Lindsay, what's going on?" Which they never knew with me what was going on. It was always some weird, crazy stuff that they always expected stuff with me. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I just got hit by a car." And she was like, "What?" So it was stuff like that constantly. It was super freak, things that it just didn't faze me like it should have most people.
So that would have definitely been aided by genetic modification, just like now, coming back to the psychic side of this thing, did you experience in the natural, like in your lived experience, a pull towards mediumship, tarot cards, or just providing those services as an occultist at any point in your journey?
Yes, that was very much, I was very drawn to that all the time. Uh-huh. Anything that had to do with any type of supernatural, spiritual stuff, it was very intriguing to me. Actually, and it ran in one of my bloodlines from my grandma's side. They are a line of witches.
Which grandma?
My mom's mom.
The mom? Oh.
Yes, a line of witches, to where we would borrow our cousin's clothes for Halloween because she was an actual, she didn't hide that she was a witch.
And you would wear her clothes?
Mm-hmm, for Halloween, and yeah. And that was just natural, like normal. I didn't think anything weird about it.
Goodness. Okay. So that was very strong. Mm-hmm. But thank God you're not that now. No, yeah. a lot of deliverance for all of that. So, yeah. I want to ask you also about specifically Kabbalah, because I've seen Kabbalah show up in a lot of people. It's one of the favored programming templates by the wicked people. It shows up a lot in Freemasonry. A lot, people ask, where did Freemasonry get all the names of Yahweh God? Was it from the Christian Bible and their ardent study of Christian ethics? And the answer is no. I believe it was built in from Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. But did you run into that at all?
We actually just recently, going through some of this other worlds that we have discovered, and the pattern that it goes in, the way it's going, it actually is like the Kabbalah tree. So we have started to get into...
Wait a minute. Okay, so now let me just kind of back out of some of the worlds. So I think I want to ask this as a question. You have a programmed inner world, correct?
Yes.
And that is largely based on what kind of programming?
Disney.
And so there are there kingdoms inside?
Yes.
And those are different areas of the inner world?
Yeah.
Are you saying that those different kingdoms as separate areas of the inner world are mapped in the shape of the Lurianic Kabbalistic tree of life?
It's the way they're unfolding.
Goodness.
So it's like a code. So that's what we've realized, that doing that, it's almost like we're decoding it. And once we deal with one thing, a different world opens up, and I will see it. I will see which one is about to open up because the picture appears. Because right now I see it's the world's, but it's empty. And then when we get past one, and the next one opens, it's a code and the way it's moving, the worlds, and how they're opening up. The way it was done was very strategic. And it's moving in a pattern like that. So my coach said we really need to go in and explore.
Each one. Wow. Okay, and you've explored some of them already. Which worlds have you discovered so far?
So the first one that started was Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
But the way that the worlds started, how it was, is that I'm going to try and do my best to explain it how I see it. In the center was the big Disney castle. And each world is around, and they kind of intersect with each other, how they go like this. So the first one was Alice in Wonderland. And there was a castle there with the Queen of Hearts. I had a part, was a Queen of Hearts programmed. And she was to watch over and rule over all the people, parts that were transferred to that place to be trained, or to have different things done to them, other people's parts. And inside of that castle was also, there were reptilians watching over it. So that was one that we moved into and dealt with, which was one of the biggest ones that started unlocking all the other ones. And that was the one that I was constantly watching and having things done to me. And then after that, it was Little Mermaid. And the Little Mermaid was where it was showing also Atlantis. And there's a cave where there were just like the little things, the mermaids that would go and make a deal with the sea witch, and how they would look. It was revealed to me those were actually like parts of people that were trapped in there. But we went in there and there was just jars and jars of essence, people's essence. But then in another area, which was connected, was the facilities that had all of the artificial wombs as well. And those jars in Atlantis were mirroring the jars in these facilities. and it was looking like, except for seeing the babies in the wombs in the jars, it was the essence I was seeing. And so they were intertwined together, and it had to do, and then it was the Little Mermaid programming that unlocked and showed all of that. And then it went into Rapunzel. And when I was 4, I was always getting my hair cut off. Every picture I've seen, I looked like a boy, and I always wondered, why is my hair always so short? And Rapunzel, I seen the part, was up in a tower waiting for her Prince Charming. The Prince Charming was the Antichrist. But Jesus came as Prince Charming, and he rescued her from that tower.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and those are the ones that we've gotten through. But then the castle in the center was also showing what was really, it was also underneath Disney as well. The rituals, the bloodshed is also a realm of captivity down there underneath Disneyland.
Now, you went through a lot in Reno. By Disneyland, are we talking about the physical Disneyland location in California?
Mm-hmm. And it was being mirrored, so there's a spiritual place and also the physical, and they interface together.
How often were you taken to Disneyland?
Underground, that I don't even know. But the funny thing is, as an adult, I wanted to go.
Uh-huh.
And so I know that there were parts underneath there that were looked like cages, and dungeons. And other people's parts were I was being used as a tunnel, to where they were tunneling people's parts in through me to this castle. So that had to get disconnected and cut off to stop that trafficking that was going through me for other people, and they were redirected to Jesus instead.
It's just incredible. You know, what happens in the spirit world is so nuanced and fancy. And, you know, in the old days, the assumption is, well, deliverance ministry means you cast out a demon and then the person is free of that demon. And we know the usual culprits: demon of murder, demon of alcoholism, demon of drug use, like whatever that problem is, that it's a sin cycle. That's the name of the demon, and we get it out. And there is so much more to the spirit world than that, and what you're describing is, you know, requires that a person understands the Babylonian soul trade. That Babylon, according to Revelation 18 and 13, trades in not just the bodies, but the souls of men. And when a person begins to understand that a fractured soul can exist, and is exactly what happens as trauma causes dissociation, and that it leads to soul parts. Those soul parts can be put on trade routes in the spirit world. But those trade routes can go into and out of actual people that sit as nodes or nodal points on spiritual grids. And when you have a person that's been satanically ritually abused, part of the purpose of that abuse is to establish that person as a usable nodal point. So soul parts are legitimately trafficked into and out of other human beings, which is part of the reason why so many survivors have so many parts. They're not demons at all. They're actually soul parts of other people that shouldn't be around. And there's absolutely nothing about that idea that is anti-biblical or, against what the teaching of Scripture is. This is that a lot of us as believers haven't caught up to this part of the enemy's plan.
Yeah. His
defilement of humanity. And so That's extraordinary. And so what you're essentially explaining is how they used the inner world through programming to interface you with various realms,
Yep.
including Atlantis.
Yes. Yes.
And Atlantis is according to what you kind of suggested, a recipient of stolen human essence.
Yeah. Yeah. And I seen it because when I seen it, it was all like the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And the castle of King Triton, his castle, about how he's supposed to be good. And then Ursula is bad. But from how I was seeing it, that castle was just the appearance of good, but was really working with evil. And so everything was being transferred from what was good, the castle, to different parts of where the sea witch was.
My goodness. Where else have you experienced your essence being delivered from?
It has been from different planets, constellations, like Draco is a big one, Venus, Mars.
Can we just talk about Venus and Mars for just a minute?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now, Venus and Mars are such interesting planets to me. The reason why is because Venus is also known as the morning star. It is known as Hesperus and Vesper, and it's also called Lucifer. It actually connects the concepts of both Queen of Heaven and Lucifer in its name and in its ancient history. It's identified by the ancients as an 8-pointed star. And way before it would have been known that Venus is the 8th planet as you come into this solar system, starting at Pluto and working your way in.
Wow, I did not know that.
When you do your history around the planet Mars specifically, it's highly connected to Nimrod, which is a type of Antichrist figure, and Ares, god of war. And looking at the interaction between Mars and Venus, you actually begin to see a pattern for the twin flame theory of the occult world and the interaction between Antichrist and Babylon. One of the things that you find is, as you research everywhere that Nimrod went and built his cities, whether it was Shinar or Calna or whatever, all these ancient sites, they are all historical strongholds for the Queen of Heaven. So for you to be put in interface with both of these planets seems to have...
The connection, all of it's just so...
Especially because you brought up the conversation around Beauty and the Beast, programming, and in our first conversation, the fact that you met the Beast.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's just my musings. Why don't you talk a little bit about your experience with essence being delivered from these locations?
They would take parts from me, take them there, and they're just sitting there waiting. It's almost like building an army with parts.
Wow.
Yeah. And so the more, and I was told, and I didn't understand it in the beginning when I started doing this on my own before I got a coach, the Lord told me I'm spread throughout the cosmos.
Yeah.
But he said, we will retrieve every part. Like, he let it be known that he was telling me what was going on, but he also had the solution. So the more this is coming up, the more I'm seeing all these different places that I have been put, or that would take some of my parts do more rituals to make more parts to continue to. It's like they're trying to do as much with me as they can before they can't.
They're going to regret that. I think they already are.
Yes. So it is, it's almost like an outpost of waiting.
Wow. What's the deal with Draco?
Draco, that I am still trying to figure out. It is, but I did have some of the draconian blood line. So, yes, it was added into my DNA.
Oh, so you believe that the Draco DNA may have been one of the additions during the, let's call it, the engineering phase?
Yep, that and reptilian. And so we have prayed and we have dealt with that because one of the things when I did have all the technology, my skin was starting to look very reptilianish.
Wow.
It would be rough. It would look, it would be scaly. And no matter what I would do, what I would try, lotion, anything, it was very much scaly. And I believe it was because of all of that stuff was actively running through my body.
Goodness gracious. But not anymore.
No,
I mean,
no.
Because I don't see that.
No.
Like, I'm looking at your form, I'm like, no scales.
No. And I have pictures still of how bad my skin was. I mean, I would even wake up and I would have like where it would look like marks, like I was just like slashed while I was sleeping or slapped by something. I would have the marks on physically on my body.
Man, God has done a number on them.
Yes, yes.
Let me ask you this question, because we're going to close in a minute. For now, I know we're going to have some future conversations as more gets unlocked and more comes out. What do you want people that are on the early part of their process to know? Like, that are terrified of what they are possibly going to learn about themselves or what's been done.
Definitely that God is bigger.
Come on.
And that whatever the enemy has planned or has done, God has the solution. He has the answer, and it's going to destroy the enemy in the end. So the very weapon that they are trying to use against you is going to be used against them. And that you have hope in Jesus, that there is nothing too big that he cannot help you get through, and that you are being rooted on by heaven, by us other survivors, and that you are not alone. You are not alone.
Come on. You've overcome all this stuff. Now you hang out in Bride Ministries Church. You sing on our worship team. Praise God. I'm so proud of you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
You and your whole family.
Thank you.
We are blessed to be in fellowship.
We are blessed by you guys so much. Thank you.
So, friends, for now, we are going to say goodbye to Lindsay, but rest assured, she'll be back. Just like the Terminator. And she probably has a tougher punch. Until next time, God bless and Godspeed. You've been listening to Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall. Visit me at danduvall.com, where you'll discover merch, books, and the opportunity